Okay. I am now live. This is the third try. Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Donna. Welcome to my YouTube channel where we talk about the art market, art collecting, art appreciation, um, what it means to be an artist in today's society, all kinds of topics like that. Thank you so much for joining me. Um, this is my first live. So I'm testing this out to see if this is going to be a thing that, we can gather a couple times a month on a Monday evening. I'm not set on the time yet, where we can talk all things on art, in particular, Black art. Because if you're new to my channel, I should let you know that I have a great passion, a great commitment to Black fine art, and that is art of the African diaspora. So that's wherever we see Black people living and working in the world and looking at the art production that comes out of that experience. That is the work that I praise. That's the work that um, most resonates with me and I appreciate so very deeply, historically, artistically, culturally, linguistically, all of that good stuff. So um, that's what I'm about, and I'm really excited to be sharing that passion with you, and really most importantly, hearing from you about what you want to discuss about Black art, art of the African diaspora, where you fit into that conversation. Are you a collector? Are you a curator? Are you an artist? Are you an art enthusiast? What's your connection to Black art, art of the African diaspora? Inquiring minds want to know. Okay. So, just to get started, because this really is an open forum discussion, I want to hear from you. I want to know what's on your mind on this topic. There's also, a lot of this other stuff going on in the world that's connected to the art market and collecting and artists, etc. So we can kind of together set the conversation for tonight and maybe think about, what kind of discussion we want to have moving forward, because I really want um, this YouTube platform and my channel to be a conversation about the issues of concern to you, not just from me. I want to hear from you, learn from you as much as I understand you want to get some advice and some direction from me. So it's definitely a two-way street here. Um, but tonight, to kind of kick off the conversation, I wanted to start off talking about, well, the work of an art appraiser, as a matter of fact, and the significance of what an art appraiser does and their connection to the larger community. That is how we essentially operate, right, in the public trust, right? That's actually a terminology taken from the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice. That a part of our practice as art appraisers, as appraisers, because in fact we call it USPAP, is a standard that we follow that's actually coming out of congressional directives, right? Where essentially we are monitored or supervised, let's say, by the US Congress. And our conduct has to be following those standards very, very closely, right? And we have to, in fact, go through training. I, as an art appraiser, did the 15-hour USPAP course when I started in this work. And then from that time, every 2 years, we take a 7-hour course update. And these are regulations and standards that we document in our appraisal reports. But the one thing that doesn't come up um, that often, in fact, when I talk to clients about, besides telling them about USPAP, right. I actually forget to mention this public trust component. And I kind of get to it, but without using that terminology of the public trust. And and I'd like to know, what does that mean to you when you hear that term, public public trust? How does that term resonate with you? When I talk to people who work with contractors, I was just talking to a relative about working with a home contractor and feeling that one could get ripped off, right? Like, how do you trust people to work in your best interest, right? There's even that term about fiduciary responsibilities, right? Working in the best interest of your client. Well, that certainly is a component of appraisal practice, right? That we need to be following USPAP procedures, USPAP standards, because we are operating in the realm of the public trust, right? Or maybe that's not clear enough. We are operating in the public trust, right? So we're not going to be like an advocate, okay? I don't want to confuse that terminology with public trust, but we are telling the truth, right? We are stating the facts, we are pulling our evidence together, coming up with an argument for the evaluation of the item, right? Truth, truth, truth. I can't underline it more. Data, 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 evidence, right? And you construct that argument, right? And so the underlying piece there is that we are documenting the we are documenting what the elements that will identify what the value is. Yeah, I'm stumbling with my words a little bit. Um, but that is, a really key component of appraisal work. So I, in a couple of posts I did on Instagram and on Facebook over the last couple of weeks, I asked people, what do they think about stuff like that? And really, no one really had any questions about it. Okay. So maybe it's a boring topic. People don't think that much about it. I don't know. But I just try to approach things with integrity. And in fact, one of the things I also share with prospective clients is, and from where I sit, I'm like, I operate a consumer friendly firm. And as much as I'm doing the work of appraisal, there's also this education component to it, right? So when I'm explaining the process, I also like to share brochures that are on the website of the Appraisal Foundation, right? And they are consumer guides, and they talk to you about the process, so folks know what to expect. No, I have to say, that's another kind of like mystery thing that happens with appraisal work is people may have an idea what to expect, but not really sure, or appraisal work is like glamorized, and no, it's not a glamorous job. Okay. I mean, it's good work. It's good work. I find it very exciting. I learn so much from every appraisal that I do. But no, it's not glamorous. Right. Um, but it's all good. It's all good. I love the outcomes. I like to, um, you know, hear the satisfaction working with clients. As I said earlier, like learning from them, right? As much as I'm teaching them something and bringing them into this new experience around their artwork, right? I'm also learning a lot from them. So it's a very good exchange. I think, at least. I think it's a good exchange. Um, so, I've just lost my train of thought. So, yeah, so I have kind of talked about public trust under the realm of consumer accessible ness and open communications. But there there there's a deeper part to that public trust too, as it relates, as I said, to the standards. So I just like to be upfront about the work and what to expect, and just dispel any misunderstandings. So that's what today's kind of open forum discussion was for. That was to get your questions on what does it mean to have an appraisal done. A lot of people ask, right? How much does it cost? That's one of the initial questions that people ask. And although I have a video, I think, that I did cover what it costs to get an appraisal. I'll share that information again. And it's really going to differ depending on where you are, based in the world, right? Like, I'm in the New York City area, greater New York City area, and you know it's competitively priced. Some people are charging over $275 an hour. I've heard of 300, I've heard of 500. It all depends. And Yeah, that's the greater New York City area. um Outside of that, it could cost a third of that, a half of that. It all depends where you are situated, where the appraiser is situated too, and who you're reaching out to. Certainly, you know, their background, how long they've been doing this work, also plays a role. But more often than not, it's around what's the going rate, right? In that location. So it's important to know that up front, and you know, just try your best to find the right person for your project. Now, the way to do that, besides asking someone who's recently had an appraisal, someone that you trust, you should also be going to the directories of the top three appraisal associations, and they are the American Society of Appraisers, which is the association that I'm a member of, the Appraisers Association of America. It's based in New York City, and I've participated in a lot of their programs over the years. And the International Society of Appraisers, which I believe is based in the Midwest, another very good and strong art appraisal association. So you have three to choose from, and you should go to the directories of one or two or three, all three of those association, and do a search. Those associations, and do a search in their directory, and find someone who's close by and who has some specialization, right, in the objects that you have, and find out more about their work, and if they can work with you. They can meet the needs of your project, right? That's the best way you're going to find someone good. So it addressed how much and how to find. The other part, let's talk a little bit about the the, the process, or kind of what to expect, right? Um, wow, an appraisal is a really comprehensive experience. You have the artwork, you kind of lay out the scope of work of the project, and then an appraisal inspection has to occur, right? So that the appraiser has their eyes on the object, right? They can verify that the object exists, right? Because they've seen it, they've documented it in photographs, front and back, and they do a complete scan of the artwork, write down everything to describe this artwork, right? The markings and the signatures and the medium and the measurements, etc., etc. So kind of full soup to nuts description of the artwork, and then they get to work researching, right? Researching this artwork, researching the artist's body of work, and looking at where they are, where they sit, where they are situated in the market, maybe compared to their peers. And that's all also going to depend on the type of appraisal you're getting, right? If it's for insurance, if it's for charitable donation, estate taxes, it's a major major components that dictate the scope of the work, will guide you into the type of research you need to be doing and the type of valuation that it is, right? Whether it's going to be fair market value item, is it fair market value item, or is it a retail replacement item, and the way that you come up with that valuation, I should say. So, and then, yeah, you come up with that magic number. Sometimes it's an exact number, sometimes it's a range, and you give, a solid argument for why that is the valuation, and citing your sources, etc., etc. So, it's a puzzle. It's a puzzle. You put all these pieces together, and you complete the work. You give an argument, you complete the work. And then you move on to the next the next project. So, I know you have any questions on that, you should definitely put them in the comments or in the chat. What else can I say? What else can I say? These other questions that come up. Let me think. People, oh, yeah, this other question. It's a good question. And it's a question that, like, I really forget to share, right? It's something I really should be sharing more often, but I just forget. And that is, how did you get into this? Right? How did you get into this? What was like your roadmap to this work? And we all have our stories. And I honestly don't think that mine is a traditional route into appraisal work. And I mean, I'm not a traditional person in some respects, but so there you have it. But when I'm determined to do something, I just go for it, and wonderful things happen, good learning happening. So I came into this profession through being an artist first. I was a photographer, and then through photography, I started curating shows with other artist friends, and I was writing about art from people I knew, or from new artists that I'd come across, exhibitions I would see, and I'd write about it. So I guess I was doing like three art related things at the same time: photographing, curating, writing. And I took a pause from doing, I guess, yeah, all three things. And it's because the children came. So when I took that pause, I missed the work, and I had to figure out how to reconnect. But I knew that it wasn't going to be through practicing photography anymore, because it was just going to take so much time. It would just take too much time. Um, so it wasn't going to be that. And I don't know why. I just, like, things change, people change, and curating just didn't really feel like a fit to continue doing that work either. And I have to say that I was motivated also to reconnect, because I was deeply, disturbed, really, about how Black artists were at that time underrepresented and undervalued in the art market. And it really, it upset me. And I think there was this incident where, it was actually more than one incident, where I would hear about either an artist that I knew or someone else, in the network, in the community, where they passed away, and whomever was taking care of their belongings um, didn't know what to do, didn't know what to do with the artworks, and placed the artworks, on the curb. I think we all probably have heard, a kind of hard luck story like that. And I just was really disturbed by that. And I said, I don't know. I've got to, like, that's not right. I like to work at in the capacity of helping artists preserve their legacy, for lack of a better description. That's what I had in my mind. But I didn't have a job title, right, for that work. And yeah, I didn't have a job title for that work. But I had heard of appraisers, but I didn't kind of consider, like, the full scope and significance of what an appraiser does, right? That I didn't understand. So it was kind of like an undefined yet professional pursuit for me. And also at the time, I was involved in history education work, and it's not really a tug of war experience for me, but there are these two sides of my brain that I struggle to move together, right? Unify, right? And they are, my deeply committed interest in history and history education, and my, kind of art history and fine art work. So I thought that I should just marry the two. To figure out a way to marry the two. So I think I did that fairly successfully. I have done that fairly successfully for almost 30 years. But there's more to be done. There's more to be done. I still need to make both the entities more explicit, and not just, like, in my head here, but visible to all of you out there. So becoming an appraiser in some respects, because the other secret is this. Yes, I did watch the Antique Roadshow. That's because my mother watched the Antique Roadshow. And, after a while, like, thinking, why does she spend her, she spends too much time watching this show. I finally got hooked and understood the connection. Um, so I was like, oh, those people on the Antique Roadshow get to talk about the object, from a knowledgeable perspective, right? So they get to talk. I'm like, I like to talk, right? I like to talk. They're teaching. I like to teach, however informally. I like to teach. Um, I see they're working with art objects. Oh, I like art objects. And they bring in that history stuff too. So like I want that. I want that. So yeah, that was my roadmap. That was my roadmap. However undefined it was, and I'm still defining that roadmap in many respects today. But that was my draw. It was the artists and their legacy piece, and documenting that and having a say or role in valuing the work, right? And also my love of education and teaching and art and history. So it's a big, salad of various things, and that's okay. And that's okay because it works. It works well for me, and I'm happy to share that with others. So okay, and any questions that you have about what I just shared, please leave them in the comments. Okay. Let me see. Is there anything else I need to say to you all about how I got into this work? I think that probably covers it all. Well, I could talk a little bit about future interests as well. And these are topics that I hope that we'll be able to get into um, as we build this small community over time. And it's in there's a tie to like recent events in the economy of this country that also kind of compelled me to bring this interest that I have more to the forefront. And that is um, kind of the understanding and the practice around seeing art as an asset, right? And, a couple weeks back, March, April, because it has really truly been a long 2025. When the stock market got erratic. It was erratic is the best word I'm going to use here. Um, like I was not in any kind of panic mode, but it did heighten my awareness around how the economy works, right? They're like small things I would pay attention to over the years, like obviously savings rates, inflation rate, um, yeah, when whoever the Fed chair was would make an announcement on the inflation rate, like, my ears would tune in. Um, and yeah, I would like pay attention to the chatter in the from the news about the stock market fluctuations, right? Some people use that term crash when it's not at all a crash, right? But a pullback or a correction, right? And this go around, I thought to myself, besides, oh, this is a good time to buy more of my stocks that I like, that work for me. But I want to be having conversations about alternative assets, right? So that people can see the artwork that they love, you know, that they engage with in their homes or 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 elsewhere, right, in their lives, that's also a source of financial gain, right? Um, and also, this year too, this long 2025, it's not only the market that had a crazy turnabout, but also a lot of Americans lost jobs, right? Right. A lot of Americans lost jobs. So even in that respect, um, I thought it important to be in conversation with people who could, see their art pieces or parts of their collection as an asset to be liquidated, right? Or an asset that you could borrow against. So that's also, this is a conversation I'd also like to have with folks on this channel about art as an asset and, ways to kind of practice selecting works to be in your collection from a strategic as well as a love of its aesthetic appeal, right? um so kind of having the balance, right? And how do you kind of pull together that matrix of 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 various things when you're selecting a work, right? Something to have keep in mind when you're selecting a work. So let me know in the comments if that's something that you're interested in. And I would say the next thing, which is hot topic and should be no surprise, is art and AI, right? Oof, AI. Now, don't get me wrong. I am embracing AI. I have to embrace AI. I can't ignore it. And I'm in a wonderful group of business owners from various industries who are engaged in using AI as part of their business and teaching others how to use AI in theirs. So I'm learning, I'm learning all the softwares. I can't keep up with all the softwares, but I'm learning the softwares, okay? And there's plenty of conversation to have on that. Um, as well as obviously NFTs. That's going to be another video. Um, but yes, that's another area of conversation I want to be having on this channel too. Production of images using AI softwares. Um, Gosh, there's so much. There's so much to unravel with AI and art. I just saw an article about a art database that's going to be um, sharing an AI platform, AI and art database platform, probably by the end of this month. So that's something that I can bring back to this community, to this platform to share um, what that is all about. But this is just something that we can't ignore, and certainly also for the appraisal field as well. A lot of the backbone of our work, again, the data, the evidence, but and the sources, right, are an important part of our work. So with AI and art, we need to unpack like what are the best practices. I think best practices and more. So that's what I guess that's what I have on my agenda. Um, but I should say too that I'm going to also be bringing on some artists that I know and friends, artist friends of mine, for interviews on this channel. And in a couple of weeks, I'll be doing we're not sure if it's going to be live or a recorded video, but I'd like to have a conversation about art and spirituality, or art as healing, which is a topic that I started to delve into a long time ago. But I think, especially in these particular times that we're going through, um, that art can really be a wonderful um, source of inspiration and comfort in our lives, as you know, things particularly in the US get overwhelming for us. So that's a topic that I'd like to explore with you all as well. And I think that's it really for maybe for tonight. Um, there's not much else I can add right now, but what I'd love for you to do, if this conversation resonates with you, that you could please like, and if you haven't yet, subscribe to this channel and leave comments for me and let me know the topics that you'd like for us to explore. I mean, again, it's open forum. Tonight was Ask Me Anything. And so I think that I've pretty much covered the top stuff that people ask me about in my work. And well, the other thing would be, um, I will share some tidbits about, I don't know, something like a day in the life of an art appraiser or something like that. I think I've heard before that folks are kind of curious about that too. So I will definitely explore that with you as well. And of course, if it's not obvious, we're going to be looking at some art as well in, informal presentation format. And certainly when I have guests on, we'll be looking at the work that they produce, or the work that's a part of their practice as art professionals, or as cultural agents. So be prepared to do that. And if you have like a favorite artist that you'd like to talk about, have me discuss, let me know that too. And yeah, I think that's it for tonight. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.